you know of any examples of prequels that are better than the original?
It's a good question. I think it's hard to find one that's better than the original. It's hard to find even like good prequels, I feel like in my mind, good prequels would be like X-Men First Class, which I watched recently, or like Rogue One, if you consider that a prequel. But I don't think either one of those are better than like the overall predecessors. I don't know. Can you name one off the top of your head?
Bumblebee, the great John Cena film.
Good soundtrack. I back that.
No, I mean there's not a lot that are great. You can kind of consider that new Planet of the Apes trilogy a prequel if you want. Like
Yeah, but
you
is
can
Rise
say
that good? Is Rise better than the original Planet of the Apes?
well, no,
No.
no, it's not. But the whole
Yeah.
trilogy, if
Well,
leading up to
yeah.
the original, I'll take. The Godfather Part Two is always the classic, but of course, both of us
It's also a
haven't seen
sequel.
that. Yeah, I mean, but
Yeah.
it's
Eh.
setting up. It's both a prequel and a sequel. Half the movie is taking place before the events. That's the whole conceit
Wait,
of
I
it.
thought you haven't seen it.
Yeah, but I know what happens. Shout out to the mob.
I'm just joking.
I think prequels are always kind of hindered a little bit. They're a little bit held back by that, what's gonna happen. That case of there is no room for like any dramatic suspense. Do you think Furiosa lives and is stuck in the shadow of Fury Road because it's a prequel and you know where Charlize is gonna end up? Or do you think it's able to like thrive as its own thing?
I think a little bit of both. I think it does kind of get stuck. They focus on plot points like from Mad Max Fury Road a little bit too much. It being a prequel, that doesn't mean you have to just be like exactly before the movie that we saw them in. And you can definitely have those elements, and Furiosa definitely does. Where I mean, they end up literally at the beginning of Mad Max Fury Road. Like I think you can have those cool moments, but I kind of wish like the first hour and a half was something like completely separate from anything with like a Morton Joe. But it's tough. It's tough to tread that line, I think, for prequels for sure.
Yeah, and this movie is an interesting case of where it was really written and laid out before they made Fury Road. They had all this story in their head when they were making it. And it did change a little bit in the process, but this has been gestating for so long as a project in the same way that we talked about Mad Max Fury Road on that episode we did a while back. Like this has taken so long to get here. They had to switch the actress out again. They have a different cinematographer. There's a lot of changes stylistically into the core of the making of this movie that I feel like causes it to stand out as something unique and different, but also not always live up to the highs of what Fury Road presented. I wanted to start with kind of those similarities and differences. Of
Mhm.
course, we're not going to spoil anything for Furiosa. Not that you really can, because again,
We know what
you
happens.
know what happens, right? But we talked about in our Fury Road episode, they shot that movie in Africa, and I think it sets such a cool landscape. That African Namibian desert is so distinctive in the way it looks and the Mad Max world it creates. It was entirely unique to any Mad Max movie they had done before because it was something new. And in this movie, they decided to stay in Australia and shoot entirely there, recreating the deserts and, shooting in the real deserts of Australia. Africa was tough to shoot in. Like it was part of the reason we talked about Tom Hardy and Charlize having such a rough time. It was such a troubled production. It's not easy to go out into the middle of a desert in Africa and shoot this movie, but I do think something's lost in just like the look between the settings. What do you think? Do you think there's a
Yeah.
distinctive difference there?
I do agree. I think, and that's one of the things I've seen most, just like looking at what some other people have said, is like the CG is just like noticeable. And like when you have just like high of highs with Mad Max Fury Road, where they literally pretty much do every single stunt and every single thing in the movie, of course you're going to get compared to that. But there's definitely like a couple just like sequences to me where I was like, oh, like I can definitely tell that's on a green screen.
They're inside, they're not outside. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just like that's not good. You don't want that. And there's never a moment in Fury Road other than the Citadel, which is something we talked about, where it's like the Citadel set always felt a little bit
Yeah.
more CGI, a little bit unrealistic. And in this movie, they spend a lot more time there. So then that just, expounds upon the issues we're having.
Yeah, I thought it was cool where they did more of like the zoom back shots of like the Citadel and kind of where everything was kind of it was closer to each other. Like Gastown and the Bullet Farm. Like I feel like in Mad Max Fury Road, that feels so far away. But in this movie, I do like the world building in a sense of like them kind of showing the ecosystem and how this all works, where they do kind of, breed success out of it. But I mean, the big thing for me, honestly, with this movie, I mean, it's just not as good as Mad Max Fury Road. It's a different thing. And I think like my expectations for a George Miller kind of Furiosa prequel is just crazy nonstop action. And this is more of just like a character piece about a really badass and a really cool character. So I think maybe I just went in kind of expecting something that wasn't really going to come. But I thought it was okay for what it was. I think I was definitely a little disappointed by it.
It is, I think, outside of the expectations I had as well. I think the thing we should have realized going into it is like, did Fury Road meet the expectations we had when we watched that for the first time? Like, no, absolutely not. Like, I feel like he's constantly kind of
What do you
just
mean?
like when we saw Fury Road, we were like, what the fuck is this? Like, this
Yeah,
is not a exactly.
but
So like this is
I
unlike any
think
movie I'd seen before. And in a certain way, this is like that. It's a little bit different. It's a different world, and it's a very different visual language and style to the cutting. Uh, but it's still that strange out there. I mean, Dementis as a character is a lot to take in, I think, especially on a first viewing.
I mean, yeah, I think that was our introduction to like the Mad Max franchise as well. Like, I mean, even the original Mad Max movies, there's some wacky stuff going on. And then I think just like the first time I saw like Morton Joe and all of his, I was like,
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't understand any of this, but like the actions are really cool. But now I think now that we understand a little bit, and everybody does, I feel like, because it's a prequel, obviously. So that stuff isn't like as jarring. I do love Chris Hemsworth, just like his character and his performance in this movie a ton. I think most of the performances are actually really, really good. But I think it's just like story stuff for me. It's just like it wasn't as good as Fury Road, so it's hard to put it on the pedestal.
This movie is much more I mean, it's purposely episodic. There's like five
Yeah,
chapters throughout the movie. It's uh a line near the end of the movie alludes to this idea of epicness and greatness and like making your story something larger than life. Do you have what it takes to do that? And this movie is very much about that journey of epicness. It's creating these like tableaus of storybook imagery of mythology. Like, a lot of people have compared this movie to George Miller's last movie, 3000 Years of Longing, which is about, like elves and genies and like historical mythology. And like there's a lot of hints of that in this, with like you've got like the history man, and you've got like all these weird people in the crew, and all this strange stuff that is happening in this post-apocalyptic society that I think, like you said, builds out the world beyond Fury Road. And again, like when you get to see Gastown and we get to see Bullet Farm and you get to see the characters that are running those places, it's all great. Like I think all that stuff works.
yeah, I completely agree. And like I said, the world building I think is also one of my favorite things about the movie. It's just like for a George Miller movie, like that adds up. He's gonna do weird stuff and kind of go out there and do something I don't expect. But at the same time, I wish he kind of just made Fury Road again. I mean, even the first hour, it's just like it's good setup for Furiosa as a character, but there's no Anya Taylor-Joy. Like it's showing just like the super young version, obviously, of Furiosa. And I thought, like honestly, that first hour may be my favorite part of the movie. Even the actress who played her mom, I don't know if you saw this, but it was the same person. Her only other credit is Anyone But You.
Yeah, two
And she
big
was
movies of the summer of
yeah.
2024, man.
She was Glenn Powell's ex Australian girlfriend, and I
Shout
thought
out
she
to
was awesome
Australia.
in this movie. She got a sniper. She's out here taking some of these gang boys down, and I really liked like her relationship with Furiosa, and obviously kind of the conclusion of that story is the real kicker that kind of pushes everything forward. But I don't know. I just think once we got past kind of the part where Anya Taylor-Joy was there, it just slowed down a lot for me.
I get that. I think it does shift and change pace a lot throughout the movie where it'll speed up and slow down. I think that stowaway sequence, which is technically Anya Taylor-Joy, like is probably my favorite of the entire movie, where you've got the parasailing guys floating up into the sky and the
Yeah.
camera's moving around. The action is very different, and like you said, the CGI does stand out. We talk about, Fury Road being like 80-90% practical effects. You can feel the CGI, and I think that's entirely intentional, though. Like, I think George Miller is a guy who's like, at this point, there's certain aspects of this that I want to do in CGI, and I like the look that it's giving this and the effect that it's having. And he talked I know a lot about, like, rather than storyboarding this entire movie out, they like conceptualized a lot of it digitally, did a lot of pre-visualization and like Unreal Engine, and then we're able to conceptualize all these like vast moving shots that really, shift from like wide shots to two shots to close-ups and transition in and out in a really effective and easy way. I think the camera is constantly moving in this movie, whereas in Fury Road, a lot of that movement comes from the edit and the way it's cut together. This one pieces long takes together in a really unique and interesting way, and a lot of that has to be done through CGI. You couldn't do that with real stuff.
It's very difficult, yeah, I'd say. I don't mind that as much either. Like, I think if George Miller gets kind of create whatever is in his head when trying to make a Mad Max movie, just do it kind of the easiest way for him because he's gonna have a cool vision. And I do agree, like every time they would go out like on the Fury Road and they'd have encounters with, like you said, those flying guys or anybody else. Like, it's cool stuff. It's definitely something that
And
deserves
it's
to be on the
something new
big
every
screen.
time, right? Like, it's something
That's
you
true
haven't
too.
seen. Like, it's giving you a
But
new
it's a
look.
prequel, so shouldn't they just be doing the stuff they did in the original? I don't know, but I like this a lot. I mean, it's a popcorn flick. I'll go to the theater anytime, turn my brain off, and watch, a George Miller Mad Max movie. So maybe a little bit critical just on some of the specifics, but I mean, overall, George Miller never stop making these because I will never stop not seeing them.
It's out now, I think, digitally. But of course, if you can go see it in the theater, I would really recommend going.
In Indy, they're not showing it too many places the last couple weeks. But I went to a new AMC I had never been to, a lot more south. I mean, there were some people. It wasn't like sold out or it wasn't empty. It was kind of the in between. But I mean, just I'm glad I went and saw it on the big screen too. Just yeah, just the car noises like in the theater was worth it, I think, for me.
The trailers and the CGI turned a lot of people off, like you said. I think that's really what it was, and it's unfortunate. People got to get over trailers aren't everything, It's just a hint of what's to
Yeah,
come.
I mean, it's either a demographic thing or a marketing thing because everybody in their mind went out to see Inside Out too, and nobody saw this movie. So it's got to be one of those factors.
I
Is is,
will I
is
will
a big
shout
player.
out the cinematographer is different from Fury Road to
Yeah,
Furiosa. I think
because the
that
guy
made a big
retired, right?
difference. Yeah, the guy retired, and here's some of the movies that the Furiosa cinematographer has also shot:
Okay.
I, Robot, Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, Knowing, The Great Gatsby, 300, Rise of an Empire, Warcraft,
Jesus.
Disenchanted.
I feel like I don't like how the Great Gatsby looks,
There
and that's
there
probably
is
the
there
best
is
movie on
a
there.
there is a similarity to those looks, and like the CGI is heightened in all those movies, and there's a lot of like digital camera movements and changed backgrounds. Like, I think it makes a lot of sense to how we got here. This is probably the best work he's ever done. But
I would say out of that list,
yeah,
100%.
also the best work Chris Hemsworth's ever done. So if that's something to recommend, that's the
Dude, Chris Hemsworth is an underrated actor. Shout out Star Trek. He's great in one scene there. But give this guy
his
more
first film
serious stuff.
performance.
Yeah, true. I mean, he's stuck in this stupid Thor comedy. Get him some serious stuff because I think he has a really good actor. Rush, another one of my low key favorites. Chris
Black
Hemsworth,
Hat, a lot of bad
underrated.
movies. He's
I
been
think
in a
you
lot of
like
bad
Black
movies.
Hat, don't you? I never saw
It's all right.
that.
It's unfortunate that the main storyline of this movie coming out of it is that it was a bomb and that nobody went and saw it. Truth of the matter, it had a budget of like $170 million, and it's made about that much money at the box office. I think Warner Brothers only put up like 60, 70 million of its own money, and then like the Australian government paid for the rest, because
Oh
shout out to
wow.
tax breaks, and shout out to a legend getting to make art in his home country. Hey, that's a government using tax dollars wisely. Give us more Furiosas, people.
Shout out to the Aussies. We
That really
appreciate
it
you.
is a success, and people will see it digitally. I think as more and more people find it and they kind of get over that initial, I've never seen Fury Road, or I thought Fury Road was weird, or like I don't know anything about this world. Like, if you can get past that and get into it, I think you will be really surprised with how much fun this is, and how it is a thrilling ride.
I do agree. And I think it was effective because it made me really want to watch Fury Road again. So shout out to it.
If this movie comes out and then they released Fury Road right after.
Mm.
What do you think your opinion is?
I think it's probably mostly the same. I would be maybe I would like this movie a little bit more, I think, because you're not comparing it to a clearly like really, really good movie. So I think, yeah, maybe it'd bump it up a few points for me just because expectations are always a tough thing, I feel like.
I think I would enjoy this movie even more on the initial watch. And then when you watch Fury Road right after, I feel like I would just love that even
Yeah,
more, like as an expansion of this and
I
getting to
agree.
see the journey come to its end in Fury Road. There's a shout out to Max in this movie, Kody. I won't specify what it is, but what was going on there? Do you think that works?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that wasn't him technically, was it?
I think I mean, it is like it's, I don't know.
It kind of seems like it, but I liked it. It was a fun
That was
little nod.
stupid because it's like 20 years before the
Yeah,
adventure.
it doesn't line up
He's hanging
time-wise.
out.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't characterize be him, but it's like they really want you to think like Max when he pops up. So yeah, pretty weird.
Furiosa bombed at the summer box office, Kody, but today we are creating our own movie theaters to make tons of money at the box office.
It's summer. It's like 95 degrees in here.
Hello and welcome back to Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast, the show where two former roommates talk about a summer movie experience. What are we doing here today, Kody?
I think of today in my mind as like our summer special episode for 2024. Summer is my favorite season of the year, and it's also a lot of people's favorite season to go see really good movies. So in our heads, we were like, hey, what if we had the idea to actually book out theaters on a weekend basis and play a bunch of our favorites? If that was the case, what movies would we, want to see on the big screen during the summer? So I think that was the general idea. Did I get that mostly right there, Corbino?
You're exactly right. I'm coming in to fill in the gaps. We're doing 12 movies each for
Yeah.
6 weekends for the summer of 2024. So we've got this programmed out. We've got the dates. We're pretending like we already did this because we're starting in the past with our birthday weekends. So we'll start May 17th with my first weekend of programming, and then we'll go May 24th. The next weekend will be yours. And we're just doing double features. So I've picked an overarching theme for my 6 double features, 12 movies, and you've picked an overarching theme. And then, of course, the double features kind of coincide. So we'll go through them one by one, but I think this is a really fun exercise that we did here today.
I'm very excited. You guys are definitely going to let us know if, what movies would you include? What changes would make to our lists? But I think it's just a ton of fun. Like this is kind of just like a cool dream, I feel like, to kind of cook up and concoct some really cool combinations. So I'm excited, man. I think this will be a really fun episode.
What's your theme, Kody? What's the Webb theme here?
Roxanne decided the theme is.
So I went pretty basic. My overarching theme is just the vibes of summer. And that means a couple different things to me. And mostly what it means in my head is like these movies are probably going to be taking place during the summer, or they have some association of what I think of as like summer movies. Because I don't know, this might just be me, but when like there's big blockbusters that come out in the summer and like they take place during the winter, the big one that sticks out in my head is like Iron Man 3. It's like a Christmas movie, but it's like this big summer blockbuster.
Blame Shane Black for that. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, yeah, he can take the fall, but I feel like that just irks me the wrong way.
I'm not getting good vibes here.
So kind of my theme is like, I want summer movies in the summer in my summer theater.
Die Hard, July 22nd, 1988. What the fuck was that shit?
I should have had that on mine, but I think there's going to be a lot of good vibes from my list here. We'll throw it over to you, though. I love your theme as well, Corbino.
My entire idea is fire and ice.
They title this routine Fire and Ice.
We've been experiencing a heat wave recently, Kody. I'm sure you've been feeling
True.
it. We've been sweating it out over here. So I've been thinking you want to go to the theater and you want to experience the fire, and then you want to be cooled off and just chill and relax and go home. So that's what we're doing here today. Some of it's a metaphorical fire and ice, but most of it is quite literal, a hot movie and a cold movie paired together. And then of course there are individual themes. Let's get into it and start with the first weekend, Kody.
Let's do it. I believe you kick us off, right?
I do indeed. Starting with May 17th, the very first weekend of Fire and Ice is 80s Isolation. And speaking of Mad Max, it's going to start with Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, and conclude with The Thing, directed by John Carpenter. Two 80s classics, I believe it's 1981 and 1982, so a back-to-back year double feature. Mad Max 2 is like, to me, just like a classic Western. It's a guy, Max, out in the desert, kind of rolls into town to solve the problem of the week and to help these people. It's a guy who's stuck, as you know, they say in Furiosa, at the pull of inaccessibility, stuck in the middle of an island that was already a desert in a wasteland post-apocalyptic world that has happened. And then you've got The Thing, which takes place on Antarctica, the coldest of all the deserts. But you're stuck there with pain and horror. So I think this is the perfect pairing, and I want both these to be on film as well.
I think that's a must. I love this kickoff. Well, I'll touch on The Thing first because this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's definitely in my top 50, top 20. And it's the perfect like ice, I feel like, for your theme to kind of kick off the summer. I mean, Kurt Russell's awesome. The whole cast is insane. And like the practical effects, like in this snowy kind of atmosphere, is absolutely insane. Road Warrior, I actually watched for the first time the last couple of days here. I think it's okay. Again, I watched Mad Max Fury Road first, so it's the same thing as Furiosa. But it's probably like George Miller's like craziest Mad Max movie that I've seen, at least. And a lot of fun villains. I feel like the camp is there, and also the heart is there big time as well. So I think it's a great kickoff to the summer, personally.
They're both movies about what man will do when they are put to their extremes, I think the tension in the theater will be really felt in The Thing. I've never seen The Thing with an audience, but I did get to experience Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, just a couple weeks ago. And people were laughing, having a great time at the campiness, like you said, of just the weird assless chaps that were getting thrown around,
yeah.
Dog food that was being eaten, rabid little children running around. Like, there's some funny stuff going on. And then I think The Thing, like, everyone will just be fucking locked into their seats during the blood scene. And the practical effects and that are bar none, like some of the best creature work. If you've never seen The Thing, would highly recommend checking it out on the little screen or the big screen if you ever have the chance.
I couldn't agree more. That's one of the best, I think, horror and just like one setting movies of all time, for sure.
What's the next weekend, Kody? May 24th. What are we doing for your kickoff weekend?
So my kickoff to the summer, I think I was trying to figure out where to start because I feel like that is a hard thing. And the overall theme for this weekend is just going to be, it's the vibiest of vibes possible, if that makes any sense. But the first movie that I want is going to be Dazed and Confused. Just like starting off the summer with the song School's Out for Summer is one of the coolest things. And then just the soundtrack alone, not even the movie, like on those big speakers to kick off the summer, I think is so cool. And I mean, I just love this movie all around. You've got, a young McConaughey showing up as all right, even though a bit problematic in a lot of things. I don't really like his character. Driving around, drinking, smoking with your friends after school's out. So I think that's a great kickoff to the summer. And then I'm double booking it with Point Break. Another classic, I think, just cheesy 90s action flick. Of course, you got Swayze and Keanu going at each other. Keanu's the undercover cop, and Swayze's a bank robber surfer. I mean, can you get any more awesome than that? And obviously, the majority of this movie is taken on the beach during the summer, riding the big waves. There's also a lot of cool like night scenes. So I think in my head, maybe this is one you go outside on the projector, or even like a drive-in theater at night, because you get that awesome football scene where he tackles them in the waves. And I think that's just one of the coolest ways to kick off the summer.
I think a great name for this would just be Summer Break, Kody. Like you said,
yeah.
Dazed and Confused is a movie about the end of school, summer starting, all those hopes and dreams that you have for like a summer to come, a middle schooler going into high school, or junior becoming a senior. And it's just an all-time classic. We did a whole episode on it fucking 2 years ago at this point. I've rewatched it like twice this year because I just love it so much. There is something just so nostalgic about a movie that in a time for which we have no, like real connection to.
Yeah.
All-time great soundtrack. I did get to see this movie in a theater on film, like I said a couple weeks ago. The music just bangs. Hearing Ben Affleck being an absolute shit eater with that grin and chasing down the kids, it brings joy to my heart. Nothing like a little bullying to kick off your summer. And then Point Break, man, it's just dudes rock. It's heist, it's surfing, it's football, like you said, it's thieving. It's fun time, and it's not the last heist movie we'll get to on this list.
Yeah, it has a lot of similarities to another movie I picked too, but so quotable as well. I am an FBI agent. I say that on a daily
Johnny
basis.
Utah, just a all-time name.
Guy. Yeah. Shout out Keanu. And then, yeah, I mean, Days Confused. I am really jealous you got saw that in theaters, but I did rewatch it for the first time since our episode this week, and I saw this thing actually on TikTok where like the main kid always like touches his face. So I counted it. It's like over 50 times this kid touches his
Drinking
face.
game, man.
Yeah, that kind of took me out of it. But exactly, you can kind of just transition it to a fun theater experience with that too.
And both those movies best suited to be a little under the influence when you watch them. I think good
True.
vibes only. We'll be stocking up the bar for that theater experience.
I back it.
My next weekend, we jump into the end of May with May 31st, and I'm going just like full big blockbusters to like really kick off the summer. I feel like now going to June, and I'm calling the Sandworms and Wampas because we're doing two classic second movies. One from this year with Dune Part 2. I'm going to say it right now, the best blockbuster of the 21st century.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. I mean, so far, at least. And then Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, the best blockbuster of the 20th century by a good margin, I would say. So what more can you really say about both these movies? I haven't seen Empire on the big screen. I have seen Dune a couple times since it's come out, but I wish Dune had released prime summer. I feel like as a desert movie, it feels like we need to be in the heat of summer. And then, of course, Empire is a little bit skirting the cold edge, but it does open on a very icy planet. So we'll just pretend that it stays cold for the entire movie.
For me, when I think of Empire, like weather-wise, I definitely think of that first scene on Hoth.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, they don't really go to a ton of other planets. It's a lot of Death Star time,
And they're up in the clouds.
Right, Cloud City. What's the weather there? It's kind of chilly there. Of course, Return, you get rainforest, indoor stuff. But I guess there's Dagobah. That's a little hot and sweaty.
It's cold. I don't know what the temp is there, honestly.
Hanging out with Yoda. I mean, it's a little sweaty there. They're definitely perspiring carrying that little green guy on his back, but who knows?
Yeah, he kind of weighs a lot though.
The Wampas, though. The Yeti. If a movie has a Yeti in it, you can count it as a nice movie, is what I'll say.
No, I back it. And I think it's such a fun pairing because I think it, like you said, maybe I don't agree with that statement entirely. It was a little bold, but I think sci-fi blockbusters is an absolute kind of maybe better way to put that. But these are both on my short list as movies I wanted to include. I mean, Empire, definitely one of my favorites of all time. Dune, I think, is absolutely incredible. And definitely my favorite movie of the year. But that would be fun too, like back-to-back watches, sort of like you see maybe the similarities in the stories that maybe it's hard to catch in between, long watches. So I think that'd be a really fun double feature. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, Star Wars borrows a ton from the ideas of Dune. Seeing them both be, the part twos, you get the Fade Roy, the Baron Harkonnen relation reveal, and then you get the Luke I am your father reveal.
True.
In this,
I didn't think about that. Wow.
I think it would be really cool to see both of these movies back to back, and like you said, it's a good sci-fi double feature for sure.
I'm 1,000% on board. I think that's the easiest sell we'll have for the entire episode. So
you're getting a little family friendly on us with the next one, Kody.
I am. Yeah, so the next weekend upcoming here, June 7th, June 8th, I believe here. And I saved my blockbusters for a week or two down the road. I got a couple big boys coming. But like you said, I mean, another thing too that I think of this summer is like a really good animated movie, a really good family movie. And I mean, great example this year, obviously Inside Out 2, absolutely murdering the box office.
Ooh.
So I had a couple of my family favorites that pretty much take place during the summer. I don't know if people will agree with me on this, but this is one of my favorites. The Parent Trap, the Lindsay Lohan program,
I was
not
gonna ask which one.
the OG. Yeah, we're going the reboot here. Shout out Dennis Quaid. But I think for me, what makes this a really fun kind of summer movies pick is a lot of the movie does take place while the sisters are at summer camp. So I think that's just a fun vibe. Because I was thinking of Wet Hot American Summer would be a good pick, and then somehow I came to the Parent Trap in
Well,
this
maybe you shouldn't
category.
say that sentence, but
Those are weird comparisons, but they both take place at summer camp. Was kind of my main point. But I think this is a very underrated Disney flick. You kind of have the pranks between the Lindsay Lohan characters. I think she's also really good. It's like playing twins at such a young age. Really underrated performance there. And also too, I mean, the bringing together of kind of like two long lost loves, which I think is a fun story. So I think overall, family wise, this is a really fun summer movie. And then to pair that up, I mean, this is kind of where I'm throwing another massive blockbuster in, but I'm going with The Lion King, obviously the animated version here. None of that live action garbage. But I mean, who doesn't love this movie? Who doesn't love this soundtrack? I think for me personally, this is my favorite 90s Disney movie, which may be a hot take, but I love it that much. I mean, the music alone, that opening, Can You Feel the Love Tonight, The Circle of Life. I mean, it goes on. Scar song
I
is
was gonna
badass.
say that it has the second best music of any Disney movie, and that's only because of the Tarzan soundtrack, Cody. Because
Tarzan's good.
nothing quite hits as hard. But I think the Lion King is probably a better movie.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Tarzan, it's hard to disagree with you there. That is a banging soundtrack. But I think overall, movie wise, I mean, this is so influential. Obviously, it's basically just kind of a remake of Hamlet in a kids movie. The death of the protagonist, his dad, at the beginning of the movie, left me scarred as a child, and just something I
Scarred?
think yeah, no pun intended. But I think it's everything a kid would want in a summer movie theater experience. And of course, it does take place in Africa, so it's sweltering. It fits my theme. And also, I kind of want to do like a triple feature, just throw in Lion King 1.5 at the end of
You like
Lion
give
King.
everybody a DVD copy as they're heading
Yeah,
home.
that's what you get
This
walking
is for
out.
you. We have
Shout
a
out
bunch of
Mia with
extras.
that. But yeah, I think those two pairings. It is a Disney weekend, which I don't love, but I think that's a really fun pairing for the family.
You're really selling out to the House of Mouse, but it
I
will
am.
get the families out. And listen, I don't have a lot of family friendly features in my list of movies here. I started out with fucking Mad Max and the thing. So
True.
um this is a demographic that we needed to hit across the board. And I think these are two really good picks from the 90s, two childhood
Yeah.
classics. No Princess Bride, so I'm happy.
True. That would have been a good pick as well. That made honorable mentions, but yeah, I think we got to spread out the demographics, which is always smart. But yeah, especially after such a dark opening weekend, gotta get a little bit more friendly. But
Yeah.
I'm here for both.
We'll throw it on over to the next weekend, my weekend here, June 14th, 15th. And it is Father's Day weekend. So I'm doing something for the dads. The Alamo Draft House here was like playing Field of Dreams during our Father's Day weekend, and me and I went and saw that. So I'm doing a little Pacino action for the dads, and it's Heat and Insomnia are my hot and cold. Now Heat is probably the one where it's like it's not really like Heat refers to the police, Cody. Like
Yeah.
it's not actually about the temperature of the movie, but it's LA, it's hot, it's dudes running around, it's sweatiness. And I think it's a good pairing with Insomnia because these are both Pacino cop movies. They're very much like cat and mouse Pacino movies. In Insomnia, you of course have Robin Williams as the bad guy, and then in Heat, iconic Robert De Niro and Pacino going head to head. Like this is a movie moment that had been culminating, I feel like, for decades leading up to this, to have these two just like straight head to head, hero versus villain, or who is the hero, who is the villain, right? And it's Michael Mann just like doing incredible action, like crazy shootouts in the middle of LA streets. Val Kilmer has like some of the best hair I've ever seen, or maybe worst. It's crazy. what more can you say? It's a 2 hour and 50-minute movie, by far the longest movie on our entire list here. And so the dads are gonna have to strap in.
There's another really long one that you picked. I don't know.
Well,
It's gotta be
yeah,
close.
that's true.
Yeah.
But you got to strap in and enjoy this one. And then Insomnia, of course, takes place in Alaska during the summertime. So it's kind of a summer Alaska movie, nonstop daylight. And it's seeing Pacino just like become more and more tired and stressed out. Like, it's a really great performance from him, and some, creepy stuff from Robin Williams as well. Also,
Yeah.
this is the movie where it's like Academy Award winner Al Pacino, Academy Award winner Hilary Swank, Academy Award winner Robin Williams. Like, you can just market it with those three above. Like, that's not many movies can market themselves like that.
Academy Award winner Christopher Nolan. Shout out.
Hey, now.
This is, I think, my favorite weekend of yours, if I'm being completely honest. And it is crazy. Like, Jenny, she's scratching the door.
Cat attack. Watch out. That's
it is crazy, like how similar these two movies are. It's really Pacino, just in a different setting, like having a one-on-one conversation with the bad guy, like in the situation. So I really love that. Heat, like you said, it's kind of just Michael Mann cooking the entire movie.
Give me all you got.
So much fun. And like that one-on-one scene with De Niro and Pacino, I think I do like it a little bit better than the Robin Williams scene. Overall, I think Insomnia, and I had never seen Insomnia before this week. I think this is my favorite movie that we might cover today.
Wow.
I could not believe how much I like this movie. Christopher Nolan.
Not a real Christopher Nolan-y movie either.
Not at all. No, it's not what I expected from him. But he makes just like a typical, murder crime
noir.
movie.
Yeah, it's dark.
Unbelievably interesting. I had no idea what was coming. That fog scene in like the first half hour is definitely my favorite scene in the movie. I thought that was awesome. And then it just goes from there. It just winds down. Like, there's so much layers in these characters. And like you said, like just Pacino, just him not sleeping and it catching up to him more and more and more. You just see like this rundown guy who's trying to cover all of his spots. And it's really interesting. And Robin Williams is awesome too.
And also
weird creep.
Pacino, not a good guy in that movie either. It's like, why did he get sent to Alaska? Because he's done some bad, like he's under investigation right now. And like, it's a whole thing. And in Heat, it's also like, this guy's got some issues, maybe more at home or with, with himself, but like it's the flawed characters that are really fun.
Yeah, but I think for Father's Day weekend, you can't go with a better pairing of Pacino picks. So I adore this weekend. This would probably be my favorite weekend of the summer.
Got to be ready to drop everything when Heat's around the corner, Kody. What's your next movie?
So my next one, this is the June 21st, 22nd weekend. This is where I'm going into my massive blockbusters. So, I mean, like you're saying, when I think of summer movies, like this is kind of the first thing that I think of. You got your Deadpool 3s or Deadpool Wolverine, whatever, coming out this summer. It's the big boys. It's the ones that you're excited for kind of all year. And for me, again, this could differ in some people's opinion. But my first one, Fast 5. I think, we've talked about this movie before too, but I really want to see this movie on the big screen again. This is Brazil. I mean, I don't even like the Fast and Furious movies. I think this is really the only good one, but it is the absolute best one. You have everything in this movie. You got car racing, you got cars flipping, you got The Rock and Vin Diesel fighting, and then after that, immediately teaming up for an Ocean's 11 heist with like a really bad drug lord. I mean, I don't know what else you really want in a popcorn flick movie, but I think this is it. I kind of just want to see him on the big screen again, just rolling around and killing like 100 cops with a safe. I think that is a must for any summer. So that's my first massive blockbuster. And my second one, which is definitely less controversial, and it's Jurassic Park. I think 90s wise, at least for me, this is probably my favorite blockbuster.
I had it written down, Kody. Maybe this is the greatest blockbuster of the 20th century.
I mean, this is pretty awesome. I mean, obviously, it's kind of similar to a couple things that we've talked about. I mean, you are secluded on this island, and it just happens to have T-Rexes and Velociraptors who are kind of bloodthirsty. But it's also, you have this wonder at the beginning of just like seeing these guys on the big screen. And I think the CG does still hold up, especially in the original, which is really awesome and maybe isn't relevant to a ton of other stuff. But the thing that separates it too, because we've all seen the Jurassic Park movies. It's dinosaurs on the big screen. It gets old. The characters in this movie are awesome. Jeff Goldblum as Ian Malcolm. You got Laura Dern and Sam Neill who are great.
Alan.
Alan. Hey, that's the third one.
I was gonna ask Cody, why didn't you pick the third one? What the fuck?
Well, the third one's not very good. This one too. I think the big difference, Wayne Knight. That guy's a wild card, and he's a great villain in the first one. You don't really get that in the other one. This is mostly just like trying to survive dinosaurs. You need an extra element there, I think, pushing the story forward. And I mean the score. I just want to hear the score in the theater again. So I'm sure they will do a bunch of re-releases of Jurassic Park. So I think that's got to be high priority for myself.
The Sam Jackson, also just incredible.
True.
One of my favorite little supporting performances of all time. He's so good. I also want to shout out with Fast Five. Did you notice in Furiosa?
Yep.
Dom's baby mama and also Chris Hemsworth's real life wife, Elsa Pataki, playing two roles in the movie.
I didn't know they were married in real life, but I did notice that instantly. I was like, that's not the girl from Fast Five, is it? Surely not. But
Fast 5 and 6.
True. She's got to be Australian, right? That's the only reason she'd be in that movie. How did she get that job in Furiosa? I don't know, but
she's married to Chris Hemsworth, Cody.
Oh, that's why. I guess that makes sense. I forgot about them being a couple instantly, but good couple, good looking couple, I would say. But I did chuckle a lot when I saw that in the theater. That
you realized she was playing two characters, though. Did you see that?
No, I just saw her face. Who else was she playing?
So she plays the lady in the beginning with Anyone But You. Yeah. And then she's also the woman that like gets her face all ripped up and joins the biker gang when they do like the 5 split thing, and she shoots the guy. Yeah, that's also her.
Yeah, I remember her vividly. Wow, I didn't know that was her. That's cool. That is super cool.
Yeah, and that character, she stays around till the very end of the movie as well. She's with what's his name, Dementis, in the final moments. So they got to spend a lot of time together in Australia.
Shout out to her. Yeah, probably a fun gig, just hanging out with your husband on set. Can't go wrong.
Wear some crazy prosthetics. Both of you just looking wild. Him with the nose or with the face stuff. Fun times, man.
They gave it was like Dementis is like, what if we gave Chris Hemsworth Cody Webb's nose? And that was the character design. So I love that.
And your voice too it was a great time.
That's true.
You can't do that accent. It's not quite Bane level. But...
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and... No, it's lady and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. Lady and gentlemen.
Start your engine.
That's a great quote.
This is probably my favorite of your two pairings because both these movies just rock. I love Jurassic Park, the original especially, and I don't think I've ever seen it in a theater. I have seen Fast 5, but only the very first time I saw it, like a decade plus when it came out. So it would be a fun double feature, nonstop action, fucking heist through the favelas, and then you see the safe getting just dragged through the streets of Rio is so much fun. And then of course the score of Jurassic Park can't be beat, and CGI and practical effects are incredible in that movie, top to bottom.
And I think it's good too that we spaced out our blockbusters a little bit. I think having them all maybe back-to-back weekends would just blow up the box office. So we got to space them a little bit, but I like this placing a lot.
The summer would not be complete if it didn't have some Spielberg. So we had to get one in there. Have you heard about ScarJo in the new Jurassic World film?
I have. I heard it's one of the best
scripts
of all time.
Are you excited? That's what Glenn Powell said. He didn't take the job, but it was one of the best scripts he'd ever read.
Well, why would you not take the job then if you're Glenn Powell? Also, Glenn Powell should be in a Jurassic Park movie. No, I'm not very excited for it, if I'm being honest. I like ScarJo, so that's cool. But do we know a director or anything? Do we know more details? Or
it's Gareth Evans, I believe. Or Gareth Edwards.
I do like Gareth Edwards. I mean, how many water shots can you include early in this until I'm on board? But yeah, I'm not really excited.
It was supposed to be David Leitch, I believe, and then he like dropped out because of scheduling. I don't know. It's coming next year, I think. So get ready.
Are you pumped for it?
World. The last 3 have been fucking terrible, but I love a Jurassic. I love a dinosaur. What can I say?
Hey, got to see him on the big screen.
Who am I but a man who loves a dinosaur?
Thanks for listening to the episode. You can follow the rest of our happenings over here at Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at KHAP Podcasts, KHAPODCAST. Please follow us on Spotify, give us a rating, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow along for more.
All right, my next weekend, it's this weekend, Kody, June 28th, where my little double feature theme here is all about greed of the past and greed of the future. We're doing There Will Be Blood and Snowpiercer. Is this what you were referring to as being long?
Absolutely.
There Will Be Blood.
This
There
has
Will
to
Be
be
Blood
the longest.
is 2 hours and 38 minutes, so it's less
Okay.
than Heat. So
That's interesting.
there
Doesn't
you
feel
go.
that way watching those movies, but yeah.
There Will Be Blood is a very long movie, but to me, it's like one of the great American epics, like the story of American capitalism and westward expansion. And right before we hopped on this call, I went and saw Kevin Costner's new cowboy film, Horizon, an American Saga. It's about westward expansion and, white Americans and immigrants traveling out west and trying, going to this Horizon Ranch. And there's obviously, warring peoples and greed. And then there's the native peoples who come into play. And like, the end of it, I'm just like, I don't think you're really trying to say anything, Kevin Costner. Like, I think you're really just trying to say, like, I'm a divorced guy who sold my house and I'm trying to like make this movie where I can kiss a woman who's 40 years younger than me. I think that's what's happening. But There Will Be Blood is like this deep American story about like what happens to to a single man who is infected by the greed of oil, and like that oil has ruled our country since that discovery and since that inception and since the Industrial Revolution has happened, and it continues to this day. Every major conflict and war is fought in relation to gasoline and oil across the world. Paul Dano and Daniel Day-Lewis are both just like acting their asses off, going head to head against each other. Paul Dano like wasn't even really supposed to be playing the role that he's in the movie. Finds out just a couple days before they start filming that he's going to be filling in as this preacher, and he goes head to head against what many consider to be the greatest living actor, and in Daniel Day, and giving a fantastic performance. And then of course Snowpiercer, we did a whole episode on it. It's the futuristic sci-fi setting of what happens when the world freezes over, and all that oil and fire that's been burning heats our world into oblivion, and they people decide to meddle with things and stick everybody on a train and separate them by class. And that one has just as much to say about our current society about as it does about our future potential. So I think those would be a really fun pairing together.
I love this pairing. Well, I mean, they do have similar themes, I think, which is really, really cool. But they do have like exact opposites, kind of, that feeling of setting versus the freezing cold of Snowpiercer. And
I mean, it's the openness of the California deserts with fire stacks burning, and then the confined like
seclusion,
frozen tundra inside the train as you're traveling around the world. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I love it. And I mean, this is only the first
Chris Evans.
There's more to come. Say Chris Pine for a second. Yeah, your first Chris Evans, which I love. But I love Snowpiercer. This is definitely one of my favorites of all time too. The cast is so underrated. I mean, Tilda Swinton, even in that smaller role, I think is absolutely insane. And then pairing it up with just one of the best acting performances of all time, I think, with Daniel Day-Lewis. Just like I said, I think it was like a spiral downfall, just as a character and as a man. And I mean, of course, there's all the iconic scenes, such iconic lines. But like I was saying, the thing with me is with There Will Be Blood, I feel like it does drag at times. Like it can get long, but to kind of pair it up with something like Snowpiercer that is a bit more kind of action based and fast paced, I think that's a good combo to get you through the weekend for sure.
The way that like final scene, the I will drink your, drink it up, drink your milkshake scene.
Play that clip.
I have a straw. There it is. That's a straw. You see? Watching. And my straw reaches across the room and starts to drink your milkshake. I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Don't bully me, Daniel.
Did you think your song and dance and your superstition would help you, Eli?
Leaves you feeling heading into Snowpiercer, and then you get 2 hours of that.
That's
like
true.
I don't think there's anything better.
That is awesome. Where you leave, there will be blood is such a cool starting point for Snowpiercer, because you see like the downfall of humanity, and then at the beginning of Snowpiercer, you're like, yep, like this is what we already know. We've been doing this for a long time. So I think that kind of lead in is super underrated as well.
This is going to be probably the most depressing weekend of the series,
I
but
would say
I had
so.
to get some, political opinions out there a little bit.
I love it. I think it's a good weekend.
Kody, you'll lighten things up for us a little bit next weekend.
Yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back to some fun ones the next weekend here. Moving into
Time to
July.
celebrate the 4th of July, baby.
4th of July weekend, baby. And my theme for this weekend is just coming of age movies. I picked kind of ones on different kind of ends of the spectrum. And my first one is The Sandlot. I think, especially for me, like this movie coming out on July 4th weekend, a movie that I try to watch every July 4th is actually The Sandlot. And of course, that probably just stems because I liked it a lot as a kid. But just like that 4th of July scene where they're playing and the fireworks start going off at night, that's just like one of my favorite scenes. I think in a similar movie or coming of age kids movie in that genre. But it's also just like a story about growing up and using sport as like a connection to make like lifelong friends and lifelong memories, and also just uses baseball as a background, which of course I'm gonna love too. So I mean, really fun overall. Of course, you have like the iconic characters of the entire crew. I mean, iconic scenes with, I mean, the pool scene. Everything with James Earl Jones. I really love that dog chase scene that goes on forever. I think it's just a really, really fun one. And yeah, one I would love to see in theaters on July 4th specifically. And then to pair that up with too, I went with kind of more mature, a more serious, maybe coming of age, The Way Back. I love this movie. I know Corbin's not as big of a fan of this, but I think the front three cast is amazing with Steve Carell, Toni Collette, and just prime Sam Rockwell. This has to be like the coolest Sam Rockwell I think I've ever seen. And it's kind of a story about this kid, obviously, who isn't one of those three actors, just like going through a divorce, trying to figure out who he is in life. So I think that coming of age element is really fun. And also too, it just like mostly takes place in a water park. So insane summer vibes. Yeah, I was kind of between this and Grown Ups just because of the water park effect overall. But I think this movie's amazing, and it just always kind of, I don't know, it just makes me feel really, really good after watching it as well, which I think is a fun thing in the summer. So that's going to be my pairing for the 4th of July.
I love The Sandlot. It's the most iconic 4th of July movie to me. Fuck Independence Day. That's just stupid. To me, it feels like the perfect like drive-in movie theater experience.
Yep.
But of course, just like the fireworks scene is incredible out there on the field. The pool, like you said. There's a lot of skeeviness towards lifeguards in both these movies, Kody. So shout out to that. And you, The Way Back, I'm just a little allergic to. I think it kind of gives me the ick all across the board. Maya Rudolph, though, innocent completely. We love her.
The supporting cast is Jim Rash, one of the
Written by
directors.
Jim Rash, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Directed as well.
I think written and directed.
Oscar winner Jim Rash.
Shout out to him, but yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the movies too where it's something you're just really gonna love or maybe not like the most. So I think
Nina loves it. It's one of her all time. You and her have that common.
It's awesome. We both have good taste. But yeah, I think I think 4th of July wise, those two are just a really cool combo. But we keep moving along, man. What's your next weekend look like?
Hey man, maybe if I saw it on the big screen, I would enjoy
That's
it.
True.
But
that is very true.
Who knows? My next weekend, the little double theme here for July 12th is underseen genre flicks. So I tried to pick two movies that I feel like most general audiences maybe haven't even heard of or haven't seen if they have heard of them. First one is going to be Danny Boyle's Sunshine, and then The Empty Man. Sunshine was released in 2007, and then The Empty Man was officially released in 2020. Of course, a great time to release a film if you really want people to see it. Sunshine was not seen by a lot of people. It was made for relatively cheaply, so it wasn't necessarily like a huge bomb, but it was not a hit by any means for, a sci-fi epic with, Chris Evans in it. Of course, that was before he was Captain America, as we've talked about. And then The Empty Man was a movie that was kind of stuck in development hell for a while before eventually kind of just getting dumped in the sale of Fox to Disney, recut a few times, and then just spit out in 2020 to theaters for nobody to see. Sunshine is a science fiction movie, but it has aspects of other genres, particularly horror near the end of the film. I think it looks incredible. Like for the VFX, just like work that they had to do on this, it is really impressive. If you don't know what this movie is about, essentially the sun is dying and a crew of astronauts, the second crew, because the first one did not go well, the Icarus 2 is going out to basically nuke the sun to try and relight it and, heat the earth back up. And it's essentially, a death mission, as you can imagine, a suicide mission, as you can imagine. But the cast of this film is just absolutely incredible, and a ton of people before they really kind of like hit it big, I would say. You've got Cillian Murphy, Rose Byrne, Chris Evans, Cliff Curtis, Michelle Yeoh, Benedict Wong, Hiroku Sanada, Troy Garrity, and Mark Strong. And Mark Strong plays kind of this really out there, extreme villain that I think maybe causes things to jump the shark a little bit near the end of the movie, but extremely compelling, reflective sci-fi about a potential extinction level event and people, having to come together and kind of, spend time on the ship. And like I said, it kind of jumps into horror at the end, which I feel like is the perfect lead in to The Empty Man, which is a horror movie that is kind of this cult horror movie a little bit. It has one of the best openings of a film ever. Like the first 20 minutes of this movie are just incredible, and they kind of stand separately from the rest of the movie. So if you take the last 20 minutes of Sunshine and lead it into the first 20 minutes of this, which take place in like the Tibetan mountains, and it's, real chilly and Arctic, and there's a lot of cold times and horror shit happening. I think it's a perfect pairing. The Empty Man, if you haven't seen it, is really just about this guy who's like really tired and seeing shit and, investigating some stuff, but then crazy shit's happening and there's a girl, and it jumps off the rails as well near the end and turns real culty. But I think it's a really cool examination of the trauma horror trope that's been going around in the last several years, and kind of turns that on its head. So two movies most people haven't seen, but I think would be perfect to watch together.
I think during the summer too, it's always important to get some of the lower budget or just, the stuff that you aren't expecting. You got to have a couple weekends where you find some hidden gems. And I haven't seen The Empty Man, if I'm being completely honest, but it is on my radar now, which I love. And I actually did check out Sunshine for the first time this week because that was one I've heard you talk about before, and what I want to check out. I feel like it's the perfect genre for me too. Like just a really fun, just different like sci-fi movie that, I mean, it's unpredictable. I think, like you said, the thing that I really love is the cast. I love Rose Byrne, Cillian Murphy's awesome, young Chris Evans, and then you throw in Michelle Yeoh there. I think that core four of the film is pretty much unbeatable, especially when you put it in like a cool sci-fi space movie. And the themes are really fun too. I mean, obviously, trying to save the whole human race here, kind of a big thing, kind of a big, deal altogether. So they're putting a lot of tough like situations and a lot of things you're like, dang, I don't know what I would do kind of in that situation either. I think for me with Sunshine, the thing where it does go off the rails is the Mark Strong stuff. I didn't even realize that was him until the end credits, where it was like, oh yeah, I guess it kind of does look like him. But I think the thing I dislike most is just like the camera work associated with him, because it's like super shaky. But that was like the one thing where I was like, maybe I don't love. But this movie surprised me a ton, and I think it's a great placement at the start of this weekend. And then I don't know, it sounds interesting. I feel like especially like these COVID type movies, similar like Tenets, but obviously that got a ton more viewership, are kind of just like lost in the sauce. So I think maybe going back and revisiting a lot of that stuff that kind of got dumped is a really good idea, and something cool to pair with Sunshine.
The Mark Strong stuff at the end, I think it's almost like showing how irradiated and poisoned by the sun he is, that you can't even,
I mean, how is he even alive though?
capture him on I don't know, there's some real like mythological magical shit happening with the sun, which I kind of like about the movie, is like it goes deeper science fiction than I think you expect it to, because it starts very realistic and very like shit, this is something that could maybe like this is a realistic problem that could happen, and like the ship design is so cool and unique.
Yeah, I think it stays realistic like the entire movie. They never like break the laws of space or the laws of physics or anything. But yeah, kind of just like not having him in the movie, I feel like wouldn't have changed that much. But overall, I still did really, really enjoy it, and something that I was not thinking that I would like as much as I did. So I think for some underseen gems, that is definitely a great pick.
You got to go check out The Empty Man. And anybody listening to this, if you like horror movies, watch The Empty Man. You probably haven't seen it because nobody fucking has. Kody, I've been on my reading shit. This movie or this book here, Hail Mary, which is written by Andy Weir, the writer of The Martian, and is being adapted into a movie. We talked about Phil Lord and Chris Miller directing it next, with Ryan Gosling and Sandra Hüller starring. The whole main issue of this book is that the sun is dying and its light is going out. Now, the reasons for that are different than those in Sunshine, but I thought that was a really interesting similarity between these movies and between that movie and this book and eventual movie that'll exist. And maybe we'll have to do a whole Sunshine episode when Hail Mary finally comes out, because I think there'll be a lot of fun stuff to compare there.
That is really cool that the setup is that similar. So yeah, I would 100% be down for a Sunshine up. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
All right, Kody, what's your next weekend, man?
So my next weekend, I mean, it's half similar to yours. I think, of course, in the summer you're gonna have good horror movies come out. I think for me, obviously Halloween, you get some good ones, but also some really bad ones.
It plays all year, man. Horror is year round.
But during the summer, I think that's where you get, maybe not the best ones, but still like really, really good ones. And for my horror pick, I'm going to take It Chapter 1, which is another movie we've done an episode on. So go check that out. But I think especially like my summer vibes, this is maybe like the hottest summer.
If you say it's summer one more fucking time.
Of any of the movies that we'll go into. I feel like Derry is just dripping with sweat constantly. And either maybe that's, because of Pennywise and the kids are scared, or maybe it's just freaking really, really hot and they need some fans. But I think the thing that I love about this movie too is like its combination of like the horror and like the coming of age story. I think those two things together is really effective, because I do really like the kids and all the kid actors. And then Pennywise is just so creepy. Bill Skarsgård is just absolutely insane in this character. So I definitely want to see that as the first feature. And then jumping it over to something completely different, you also got to have good comedies. Corbin, we've talked about this a ton, but we need more big budget comedies in the summer. That's my missing genre. And my pick to fill that hole is going to be Tropic Thunder. Mostly for its setting, if I'm being honest, just like taking place in the jungle. And also it's like super meta commentary on like action movies and, actors and directors. It's super meta towards Hollywood, even studios, obviously, with Tommy Cruise. But super meta, which I like, but also the comedy. I think it's really, really good. I mean, this cast too is insane. Ben Stiller obviously directing and being the leading man. And then Robert Downey Jr., I think probably the funniest movie he's ever been in. Probably very problematic, just his character as a whole. And I don't love that aspect of it. But I think just all of the combined cast list, Jack Black and Jay Baruchel, kind of, leaning on them as well a lot in this movie. I think it's just really fun. And I really love the action comedy elements in it. And there's tons of massive explosions that I kind of want to see on the big screen as well. So that would be my double feature. I think maybe my most random pairing here.
I like the choice of going horror into comedy, get spooked and then have a little laugh before you can go home and, actually sleep well instead of have nightmares. I watched Tropic Thunder for the first time this week and I enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite of all time. I feel like if I had seen more war movies or was more into war movies, I would appreciate it even more and get more of the references. But it's like, I can recognize that image. Like I know that's from Platoon, but just because you keep doing it, it still probably doesn't mean as much to me, Ben Stiller. I love that the billing of this movie is Stiller, Black, Downey above the title. Like those three guys in that order is pretty incredible. And like very much just of that time where it's like 3 years later, Robert Downey Jr. becomes, biggest star in Hollywood and, Ben Stiller's, up tonight at the museum, but not much else. And, it's interesting. And then you go, Nick Nolte, Steve Coogan, Jay Baruchel, Danny McBride, like in that order is fun. With Matthew McConaughey, and Tom Cruise as Les Grossman. Good for both.
What do you think about Tommy?
Tom is having a lot of fun in this. This will be I didn't say it during the Dazed and Confused portion, but a good credits sequence. You get to see everybody's faces as the credits roll. I love that part in Dazed and Confused. Great credit sequence in Tropic Thunder with Tom Cruise dancing his ass off. And this movie comes with its own trailers as well, so you don't even have to program anything there.
Yeah, the mini trailers at the beginning are absolutely amazing. And I think Tom Cruise is probably my favorite part. I love Matthew McConaughey in this movie, weirdly enough, too. But Tom Cruise, just his physical acting, him screaming at the terrorists on the phone, him dancing and kind of all this makeup and getup. I think it's really fun. And I don't know if I've ever seen anything else kind of like him, like that from him. So just from his performance alone, I think that elevates it a ton.
Stiller got a lot of people to like really buy into something pretty outlandish. Obviously the blackface,
it doesn't work on paper.
Obviously the blackface is a whole issue, and Robert Downey Jr. has addressed it. Like, it's a commentary on the type of actor and the type of character that would be doing that in a movie, and this like outlandish idea of method acting and having to dive deep into the character, and like about how ridiculous that is. Like, that's what it is. It's nothing. It is not intentionally being hateful or offensive, but it is still not really an okay.
It's very offensive.
It's across the board, but like the movie isn't entirely a commentary on the problems that Hollywood has and has continued to perpetuate, especially in like the 2000s.
I couldn't agree more. I think if you're looking at this movie from the right angle, I think you're really going to love it.
You made a strong choice in programming it here, Kody. The thing is, like, whether or not, like, I really think like every movie should be seen, and like, even if you hate this movie and you think it's the most offensive thing, like, that's 100% you're right. But like, movies should be programmed for people to see and to have their opinions and to, like, form their own take on what they think. Like, for me, like, I'd never seen Tropic Thunder, so I was a person that had always really stayed out of any type of conversations or thoughts about that, because I just hadn't seen it. So watch the movie and consider what it's trying to say, for sure.
Facts. I believe we're kicking it to your last weekend here, right?
My final weekend.
What are you wrapping up the summer with?
We are going to court, baby. Nothing says summer like trapped in a fucking sweaty ass courtroom. I'm going for 12 Angry Men, a classic courtroom drama, which does not take place in the courtroom at all. It takes place in a jury quarters. And then another recent pick here with 2023's Anatomy of a Fall. I love this pairing because you get to see like this classic old school, like straight white American judicial system in work in the 50s. And then you've got this much more modernized, cold French and German language mixed court with this woman on trial for killing her husband. And in both of these cases, they're about potentially innocent people who may have not done the crimes that they've committed. And, they have people that are working strongly against them, and they have to present their arguments. 12 Angry Men is just about these dudes trapped in a room during the heat of summer, sweating in New York City. And then Anatomy of a Fall is just like pure, like up in the mountains, icy cold, sequestered away from everybody vibes. So I like these two as a fun little courtroom judicial proceeding to end the summer.
This is a great duo. 12 Angry Men was actually originally on my list as well until I made a last minute change. So I love that pick. Super sweaty. I think fits the theme pretty much perfectly there. And then, Anatomy of a Fall. I mean, I really, really like that movie as well. I saw it a little bit late in the Oscar season, but I think maybe that would have been my pick for Best Picture of last year. I think the courtroom stuff is really, really interesting as well, just because of, like you said, that language difference. And like this person is like pleading for their life, trying to explain what happened. And you have like that language barrier that kind of just makes it difficult, which I think is really interesting. But also it kind of leaves it at the end of like, you don't know really what happened or who the good guys and the bad guys are in the situation, which I really love. Also a really great song. The version of that. Yeah, the version
Steel
of that
drum
is undefeated. So shout out to that. But yeah, I think, and I'm going to go a similar tone with my theme the last weekend here. But I think this is a great way to end the summer with a little bit more serious dramas, and you definitely have the fire and ice. This is definitely one of your best fire and ice combos too.
Movies about prejudice and opinions that are formed. Kody, let's finish it off, man. What do you got?
Yeah, in my last weekend for the year, we are opening up August here, August 2nd and August 3rd. I'm going along similar themes. I'm going with more serious flicks, and I'm just going with straight up Oscar bait to kind of cap off and end the summer. I mean, we're always ready for Oscar season. You got to be prepared, and I'm bringing the big boys. So my first one, I'm going with, I think, just an all-time classic, The Shawshank Redemption. Obviously, mid 90s. Just probably one of the greatest movies of all time from a technical and a writing standpoint. I mean, and for me too, just like with the summer vibes, the scene that I always think of with this movie for some reason is when they were doing that work on the roof or whatever, and they're all just sitting up there drinking beers at the end of the day. But I think that crew of Andy and Red is just such a fun duo and really bounce off each other so well. And just like ending the summer too on like a hopeful note of like, hey, maybe during the summer a bunch of bad stuff went wrong, but in the end, it's all going to work itself out and be okay. So I think it's a really fun message to end the summer. And yeah, just a really awesome movie. And then the one I want to pair it with is more of a modern one. Shout out to our boy, Luca, who had a movie come out this summer, obviously. And my pick is Call Me by Your Name. It's kind of similar, I feel like, to some of my other picks where it just takes place over summer break. It's just Timmy chilling, having a good time. He's dancing, which is iconic. He's having sex with fruit. He's having sex with people. He's bawling his eyes out at the end. It's kind of just Timmy going through a full summer, and you're right by his side. So I think it's a really fun one to cap the summer with too. And honestly, one of my favorite things about this movie too is like his relationship, like with his dad specifically. I think that just kind of character points at the beginning and the end is a really cool thing. And yeah, just give me some art house, and Luke is one of the best doing it right now. So got to get him in there.
Shawshank is like bro love, and Call Me by Your Name is like bro love. You know what I'm saying? Another set of credits that you really just gotta like sit through
With that.
and sit with Timmy as he's crying with the fire as the credits roll. So if this is the final movie that plays in our series, I think it's the perfect one to end on. Just force everybody to stay in there with him.
I think both credits are great because in Shawshank too, they get that meeting up on the island, which again is just the summer vibes. But yeah, I think it's a good capper just because you get the hope and you also get kind of the sorrow that goes with the world.
Shawshank, the ultimate movie about resiliency and overcoming. And Call Me by Your Name, I watched for the first time actually in preparation for this, and
nice.
I was like, this is all right, but that final speech and that final section with his father, like, got to me. I was like, shit, yeah, this is really good. Like, if this was what it was all building for, it was well worth it. So
yeah, no mention of Army Hammer yet.
All money, all ticket sales will be going to cannibal funds, I think.
Or anti-cannibal funds.
Right. Yes. The anti.
We don't support cannibals here.
Right.
Hopefully not.
Definitely not. No, except for the Bones and All movie. We do like that.
Yeah,
we're fans of that. Shout out to
we like Timmy. Not Mark Rylance though. Weirdo.
Tomato, Kody. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do a random number.
Tomato. I'm throwing tomato.
And it's gonna select a weekend for us, and then we're gonna just do the star of both those movies for tomato. Okay. So, random number generator 1 to 12. Weekend 2. It's yours, Kody. Point Break and Dazed and Confused. So we're gonna do Keanu. I like this. Keanu and then
McConaughey.
Do we want to do McConaughey or Affleck? I mean,
ooh,
I mean, neither of them are the lead of that movie, obviously,
but that makes it easier. I say we do McConaughey.
Okay, let's do McConaughey because he appears a couple times on our list, anyways. So we'll start with Keanu Reeves. Kody, I'll give you the first pick here.
Oh man, this is an interesting one because I feel like Keanu should be in some.
And again, the goal here is to create the biggest separation between two Rotten Tomatoes scores. So something very low and something very high.
Yes, we want Keanu's best and Keanu's worst.
Absolutely.
And I might start off with his best, honestly, but there's a couple of good choices. I'm trying to think of what he's been in that he's been really bad. I can't think of a ton of stuff, even though he's not a really good actor. Shots fired. Okay, I'm just gonna go safe and give myself more time to think about low. I'm gonna go with he's got a good franchise. Which one should I pick? I'm just gonna go with the first Matrix. Screw you, John Wick. I think it's got to be up in the 90s, so I'll play it safe and go with that.
Only an 83% because you know what? People don't get it, man. They
Brutal.
don't understand.
You tell me 17% of people don't like the Matrix. Tough. All right. Well, I think that that bodes well for you. What's your first pick gonna be here?
I'll go slow to start. I'm gonna take the movie Knock Knock, which is
man,
admittedly like one of my least favorite movies of all time. I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago. 37%. So there is a door that's
low
open still for you. Cody.
Definitely low. I mean, my initial thought for the lowest one was the Matrix Resurrections. I don't know if it'll be that low. What are the random crap? I mean, you got Bill and Ted, where the sequel's that bad. I think he's in the movie Keanu, but I don't think that was that bad either.
Yeah, no, I think Jordan Peele, man. Ian Peele.
He wasn't in Speed 2, was he? Did he show up at all in that? I think I'm just gonna give up and say Matrix Resurrections.
Angels in the Outfield, Cody?
I think he's in that, but that's a good movie. But Resurrections, it's got to be like below 50-40%, I think. So I'll take that.
I'd already pulled it up because I wasn't picking it, and it's 63%. So
all right, this may be my worst tomato game ever, but that's all right.
I'm gonna go high and just go John Wick chapter 3. I know it's gonna be
Parabellum. Yeah, that would have been the one I picked as well.
89%. That's enough for a win. That's all I really needed there. So
let's hear some bad Keanu movies. I can't think of any.
Yeah, let me pull up the Keanu page here.
Some animated stuff, maybe. He's probably in some pretty bad. Like, was he in the Secret
Life
of
a lot.
Pets show?
Or a lot bad.
The Super Pets one? That probably wasn't that bad though.
Something called Replicas. He's in something called Destination Wedding, Siberia. Something called Exposed. Something called Knock Knock is 47 Ronin. That's a 16%. That's a classic. Movie.
I forgot about that.
Constantine has a 46%.
That's better than I thought.
The Matrix Revolutions
is worse.
Has 34%.
Wow.
So
okay.
There you go. Hardball is a 41%.
Yeah.
And where's the Reloaded is 74, so that's pretty high. And then he's got some good movies, of course. Speed is a 95, Parenthood is a 92, My Own Private Idaho at an 80. For your reference, Point Break, if you were wondering,
has
60? A 69%. So really not too high.
That's the perfect for Point Break. I'm surprised Speed is a 95 and the Matrix is like an 80 something. Come on, guys. That's
Bill and Ted Face the Music is an 82. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey is a 56.
What about the
Bill and
newest
Ted's
one?
Excellent Adventure is an 83.
So the newest one was good.
The newest one is Face the Music 2020 is an 82%.
Wow. Okay, I didn't see that. I'm surprised it was that highly rated. Well, fair enough. We'll go.
Everybody loves Keanu. All right, and next up is McConaughey, and I'll go first.
You got first pick, yeah.
So McConaughey has obviously been in a ton of stuff. I feel like Interstellar might be a cheap, just like high pick. Magic Mike, we've gone down that road. I think it's like in the 80s somewhere. There's a lot bad. I think I just got to take the obvious bad pick here, Cody, to snatch it up and go tiptoes before anybody can.
Yeah, that was definitely going to be my first.
20%.
That's way too high, but yeah, that's going to be a tough one to beat there.
Great episode we did, if you want to check that one out.
Yeah, it's still one of my favorite episodes that we've done. Such a weird movie. Maybe due for a rewatch. But yeah, there's probably something lower out there than that. But high-wise, I think he's got a lot of highs. I don't know if I should spell out my thought process, but I might as well. I feel like Wolf of Wall Street should be really, really high.
Yeah, but we did this like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we found out it wasn't that high. So
maybe it's not that high. He's in Contact. That might be low.
Shout out to Robert Zemeckis.
He's in so many.
Your trailer, Cody. Did you see that? Excited?
I did
to
not
see
actually. I saw Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. I saw the pictures, but I didn't
their
care
DH.
enough to watch it together.
Dinosaurs in that movie.
Zemeckis doesn't really get me excited after the Pinocchio debacle. There's a lot of good McConaughey. There's a lot of bad McConaughey. I think I'll take your cheapo. I'll take Interstellar. I think that's got to be way up there.
Interstellar is a 73%, man.
Should have taken Wolf of Wall Street.
If this was Letterboxd,
why are we using Rotten Tomatoes?
If it was Letterboxd scores, because I tell you, the Interstellar opinion has only increased every year since it's come out, but this has all the old reviews back from 2015 still aggregated, sadly. And
I should have taken some Oscar bait that he did. Rotten Tomatoes is weird. We're just like popular movies. I feel like are a little bit lower.
I'm gonna take Dallas Buyers Club because I feel like it's gonna be higher than a 73, and then that kind of just blocks you out. 92%. What a world we live in. Good movie, but you know.
Yeah. What about Mud? What's Mud sitting at? Is that high 90s?
Mud. It's got to be close to the Lincoln Lawyer, I imagine. Mud is a 97%. Holy.
Yeah. See, that's probably what I should have said. But okay, so low McConaughey. The first thing that always pops.
And I just want to say you need to get a 1% to tie.
That's not happening. I mean, if Tiptoes is not 1%, I'm not even anything worse than that. So I'll speed it up and say Ghosts of Girlfriend Past. I really dislike that movie.
Ghosts of Girlfriend's Past, Cody, is a 28%. So it was a very solid effort that you played there. But sadly, Interstellar screwed you.
Yeah, true. Why would I pick Interstellar? I don't even like that movie. Shout out to you, man. 2 for 2 on Tomato. I think I was whooping you pretty good before this as well. So much needed dub this week.
Finally had a good round. I'll shout out some McConaughey. He's in The Return of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which has a 16%. He's in something called Larger Than Life that has an 11%. The Wedding Planner only has 17. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days has 42. Failure Launch is 23. That movie's not very good. Fool's Gold is an 11%. That's quite low. So back in the rom-com age, it was quite bad. The Dark Tower has 15%. That's a recent
Idris.
one. White Boy Rick, 57. Serenity, 21. But then the highs, of course, The Gentleman at 75. Kubo and the Two Strings at a 97. Wolf of Wall Street's an 80. Dallas Buyers Club 92. Mud 97. Magic Mike 78. Bernie is an 88%. Another Linklater film. Amistad is a 78%, and then of course Dazed and Confused, which would have been a cheap one to pick, is a 93.
I forgot about that one, honestly, but probably because that's a tomato. But yeah, that is the crazy thing about McConaughey. He's got so much good, but just so much bad early on too.
We'll finish things off with weekly watches. Cody, what have you been into? What have you been watching, man?
How's the movie?
What movie?
So I've been into some random stuff. So recently, for some reason, I decided I wanted to rewatch the X-Men movies.
I saw that.
It's probably, because the new Deadpool is coming out. So I watched X-Men 1, 2, and 3, and then the first 2 Wolverine movies, Origins and The Wolverine. X-Men 1 is okay. X2 is awesome. The Last Stand, just terrible. Brett Ratner, I got beef, buddy. And then I did also watch another Brett Ratner movie, Tower Heist, which is actually one of the first movies I remember seeing in theaters. So shout out to Tower Heist. But yeah, not great. I do like the cast a lot. Ben Stiller, I think, is good in it. And it's like a young Casey Affleck before he was an actor. And some other fun people too, but wouldn't recommend because Brett Ratner sucks. And also, I mean, Wolverine Origins is just as worse. I don't know which one's worse, honestly. The Last Stand or Wolverine Origins, but they're both god awful. And the Wolverine was worse than I remembered as well. I think it's a good Wolverine movie. Especially coming off of
is
Origins.
Danny Houston in that
one?
Or is he in? Which one is he in?
He's in Origins. Yeah. So there's
he's also in Horizon and American Saga. In case you wondered.
I'd like him as an actor, but yeah, I think in Origins everybody's really bad. Just the Liev Schreiber clawing jump is, I can't do anything with that. So, and I don't know why Will.i.am is in the movie. He's just playing Will.i.am, and yeah, I don't know why he's there, but interesting casting all around. Shout out Taylor Kitsch. But other than that, been watching some Muppet movies. So I watched Muppets from Space, which I hadn't seen in forever, and I enjoyed that. Then I also checked out Muppets Most Wanted, which is the sequel to like the reboot with Ricky Gervais and Tina Fey. I don't really like that movie, if I'm being honest. That'd probably be. I think that is probably my least favorite Muppet movie. So not a big recommendation there. And other than that, I mean, been watching The Boys, been watching The Acolyte. I'm not completely caught up on The Acolyte, but all the episodes I have watched, I really have not enjoyed. So shout out to that show. But The Boys has been great, and The Bear actually just released. I believe it was yesterday, so I'm going to binge that and definitely report back. So a lot of good TV coming out, which I love. And also big soccer tournaments going on, the Euros and the CONCACAF or Copa America, whatever you call it. So I've been spending a lot of time with those as well. But yeah, those would be my recs. What have you been into, man?
Not been watching a ton of movies, been pretty busy with work recently, but Mina and I rewatched the original Inside Out in preparation to go see the new one. I think it's a fun movie. I think Amy Poehler gets a little annoying. And at some point it's like, well, why, like they're just fucking running around in her head and like nothing actually matters. Like I don't know. R.I.P. Bing Bong, sure. And then I watched The Judge. Kody, have you ever seen The Judge?
I've not. I saw your rating of it though.
This movie fucking blows.
Half a star?
Half a star, man.
Oh,
can I throw some plot points of The Judge at
Let's
you?
do it.
I'll try not to spoil too much, but can't really help myself.
I'll never see it.
Robert Downey Jr. washes shit off of Robert Duvall because he had pooped himself from having cancer, I guess. Robert Duvall runs a man down with his car and then faces murder trial. Faces a murder trial because of it. And Robert Downey Jr. is trying to get him off. On top of that, Robert Downey Jr. makes out with a woman who's probably 20 or 30 years younger than him at a bar one night. And then the next day he meets up with his old high school flame played by Vera Farmiga. And she's like, oh yeah, this is my daughter who I had 20 years ago, back when I knew you. And then Robert Downey Jr. is like, wait, did I just make out with my daughter? And then you go the next 40 minutes of the movie and you're like, wait, did Robert Downey Jr. just make out with his character's daughter? And then the reveal at the end of the movie is, Kody, no, he made out with his niece. Because it was his brother's child, not his. Crazy stuff. This movie, just terrible. Directed by David Dobkin. Just to throw out a couple of his other films for you, Kody. He directed the Change Up Fred Claus, Wedding Crashers, Shanghai Nights.
I don't like the Change Up either. Wedding Crashers is okay, but
he also directed that Eurovision Song Contest, the story of Fire Saga with Will Ferrell.
So why is he doing a courtroom drama when he normally does comedies?
Because they were all trying to fucking win an Oscar, man. Robert Downey Jr. had the fucking world in the palm of his hand. This is 2014, the same year Avengers Age of Ultron comes out. Yeah. And what does he decide to do? He says, I'm going to executive produce alongside with my wife a film starring me in the lead role with Robert Duvall, Vincent D'Onofrio, fucking Jeremy Strong playing an autistic kid. And it's just all over the place. Just terrible.
Vera Farmiga.
Vera Farmiga too. Oh yeah. Also, this movie is another one where it's like Academy Award nominee Robert De Niro, Academy Award nominee Vera Farmiga, Academy Award nominee Robert Duvall, Vincent D'Onofrio, Academy Award nominee, like the whole credit, and then it's like just Vincent D'Onofrio. But good guy, shout out to him.
He's got to be Emmy nominated, right?
Yeah, maybe a Golden Globe in there. Big TV guy, sure. But yeah, that terrible movie. Would not recommend it. One of my new bottom 5 movies of all time. So really hate The Judge.
Worse than the Addison Rae movie?
Yeah, I think so. Worse than not worse than Knock Knock though. Not as bad as Knock Knock.
Nothing can be that bad, I guess.
And then other than that, Mina and I have been watching The Bear. She has not seen any of it, so we started from the beginning. So might be a little bit behind getting to season 3, but I'll get there. We'll be there.
Hey, it doesn't take that long to binge.
I hate that they released it all at once. I'm gonna be honest.
I actually love it. Oh, that is my favorite thing in the summer so far. Let us binge. Enough of this weekly bullshit. Let me binge.
I'm a busy guy now. When I was in college, I would have said the same thing, but now it's just like I don't have the time for this. But been enjoying The Boys decently well so far. It seems like we're gonna get some Gen V crossover this week. Looking forward to that, and haven't really stayed up with The Acolyte, to be honest. I did see a clip of her cutting her hair with a lightsaber. That looked fun.
Oh, I think that's a new episode. I haven't seen that, but it's really bad. It's like 10 times worse than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, you love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I don't know what that says, Cody.
I love it, but I know it's bad. The Acolyte is, nobody loves it, and I think everybody knows it's bad. But hey, if you like The Acolyte, respect. I don't know. It feels like a Disney show or something to me. It's weird. Disney Channel show, I should
Look
say.
out for tickets to our special screening series playing in a theater near you this summer. Maybe we can pair with AMC and get this out to the people for the second half of the year.
Yeah. Oh, theaters, if you're listening, we're ready and good to go. So
ready.
Reach out.
Accepting job offers.
Get this in place because I think this would be a hell of a summer.
And thank you for everybody for listening. And we hope you take the time to go check out some movies on us.
True. Stay capping.
Peace.
Peace.
What you've just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.